Scotty West, creator of the Absolutely Understand Guitar video home study program. Check us out on the web at www.absolutelyunderstandguitar.com. What I want to talk to you today about is a little bit of soloing. How'd you like that? That's a tune I wrote. It's called Shadows of Helen. If you've been looking at our other posts, you'll notice that there's I always start off with a little bit of playing, and those are actually all pieces that I've written. And the only reason I point that out is notice that there's always an improvisational aspect, and notice that they come from a variety of different styles. And I like to think that's because I really have a pretty good understanding of how music works, and I've done a lot of what's called ear training over the course of my career. And if you ask me, those are ultimately the essences of true musicianship, really controlling those two concepts right there. As we mentioned in our previous post about the relationship between ear training and soloing, we pointed out that it really is all about ear training, that you don't really play the guitar with your fingers. You don't really do guitar solos with your fingers. You really do them with your mind. And the people that are really jamming creatively and creating interesting guitar solos are really, they're capable of hearing all of the notes inside their own head. And in a way, they're just basically singing inside their heads. And then hopefully they understand their fretboard well enough to be able to reproduce the notes that they hear. And what I want to give you today is a taste of how you wind up doing that kind of ear training ultimately. Singing is one of the most effective ways of locking the various pitch relationships in your mind. I think if you recall in that previous post, I was showing you that I know what every note is going to sound like before I play it. And really, I'm just basically singing inside my head. And the solo really comes from that part of my mind. And a lot of you I know, you're going, I can't do that. And that's right, you probably can't. Doesn't mean you can never do it, though, and whether you want to believe me or not now, one of the main things you're going to want to develop over time is an ability to do that, and that's through the process of ear training. And it starts off really slowly. You know, you might just challenge yourself to play a particular note on your guitar, and then just challenge yourself to sing that note. And then you begin to move around a little bit. First, just little steps, like half steps and whole steps. I hope you know what those things are. These are all examples of intervals. Intervals are the distances between the notes, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. You'll also find, if you go to our home study program on the web, that we are all about intervals. We'll get you to totally understand what intervals are all about. But for example, you sing that note. What does a half step above that sound like? A whole step. How about a half step below that? How about a whole step below that? You begin to make little movements around. And then you begin to parlay that into starting to investigate larger distances between notes. And again, like I say, it's so important to know your intervals. A lot of you want to believe that you don't need to know music theory to become a real musician. We know people that aren't, but my suggestion is you ought to go with that. And the only reason people resist it sometimes is they think it's going to be all this big complicated deal, but it's really not. Go to our program, check it out. You'll find out understanding music is really quite simple. So some of this stuff, hopefully you'll understand what I'm going to tell you about right now, but if you don't, you might want to check that out. You got to know your music theory in order to do any meaningful ear training. Your next really kind of important intervals are your thirds, and so you're starting to listen to them first. And then you're challenging yourself to sing them, because the singing is the proof that you know what it sounds like. Then you're trying to sing them without the guitar first, like da 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 da. That's a major third. Da 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 da. A minor third is a half step smaller than that. Ba 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 ba. Major third. Da 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 da. Then you're challenging yourself to sing them maybe off a different note. Now, for example, here's a different root note. And now from memory, I'm trying to challenge myself. Now, what did that major third sound like? Da, da. And if you know the fingering for the major third, ba, ba, you check to see whether you're right or not. Ba, ba. How about that minor third? Ba, ba. Sure enough, ba, 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 ba. Major third, ba, 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 ba. Next next interval larger than a major third is a perfect fourth. And now watch, I don't even have to hear it first. I'll pluck the original note and then I'll sing the fourth. Ba ba. Let's see if I'm right now. Ba 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 ba. Sure enough. Ba 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 ba. How about the perfect fifth? Such an important interval. Might be the second most like important interval in all of music is the perfect fifth. What does it sound like? Dun, dun. And I can pick any other note. Like how about here? Ba, ba. There's the perfect fifth. Am I right? Let's see. Ba, ba. Sure enough. So now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You might notice that's like the beginning of a scale right there. Once you get your basic intervals down, then you begin to connect these intervals together to begin to ear train your more complex patterns, like arpeggios. You've heard of arpeggios. An arpeggio is just when you take the notes that are in a chord and you just play them in a sequence instead of playing them simultaneously. And hopefully most of you know that a major chord is 1, 3, 5. What does that sound like? I'll pick another root note, say like right here. What does 1, 3, 5 sound like? What is that arpeggio going to sound like? 1, 3, 5. Here's the octave note. 8, 1, 3, 5, 8. 1, 3, 5, 8. Sure enough, there's that pattern. I know what that pattern sounds like. So if I'm in the middle of a guitar solo and I want to hear that major chord arpeggio is part of the melody I'm creating. Da 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 da. And then, so those are arpeggios, and then how about some scales? Once you've got all your intervals down, then you branch out into being able to do scales. Of course, the major diatonic scale, that old do, re, mi thing, very important scale to know. And the arpeggio that's inside of that scale, 1, 3, 5, 8, ba, 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 ba. And how about some minor stuff that has the flatted third? 1, 2, flat, 3, 4, 5, 4, flat, 3, 2, 1. So when I'm singing inside my head, da 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 da, I know where to put my fingers in order to play these. How about that all-important minor pentatonic scale that is so important that so many of you know, and you're thinking that it's a huge part of rock guitar soloing? Certainly it is. But do you really know what one sounds like? I do, and the way I can prove it is I can sing it. I can play any note on the fretboard. Here's that minor pentatonic scale. Da 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 da. 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 8. 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 8. So if I want to jam in there, ba da 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 da. I know what all that stuff sounds like. Even more complex scales, like the Mixolydian mode, might be the second most common scale in Western music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat, 7, 8, la da 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 da. How about a different root note? And this time again, I'll sing it without even playing it first. La da 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 da. There's that flatted seventh that's in the Mixolydian mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat, 7, 8. And then it's simply just a matter of knowing your fretboard well enough to actually execute these notes. And once you get those two things working together, and it's a long haul, it's going to take you a long time, it's hard work, but it is the path to true musicianship. Then, of course, you can just put the whole thing together and you just have so much fun, being able to create this stuff. And again, I'm just singing the notes in my head.